All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. Here we are again, Dr. Chester. This is our final day of our closing of school sermon. Oh my God, I'm so sad. We had such a great time, Doc. We had some great speakers. We had Principal Fele the first day, and then we had the beautiful Jolie Wilson, and then we had the awesome energetic little brother Damian Howard, and then we
Yes.
had the wonderful, melodious Principal Presley. As a matter of fact, I used some of his grading grace um, best practices today with a couple of my teachers. So, oh my God. And then yesterday, who do we have yesterday, Doc?
Eric Cork, the other bottle of energy. We had Mr. Eric Cork, Mr. Rap
Yes.
sensation himself, Mr. DJ that loves to do it. We had
Yeah.
Eric Cork, and we had, because he was so funny, we had Dr. Chika Akua, culturally relevant
Yes.
pedagogy. We had Dr. Chika, and who was our third person? We
Who's
had
our first person? Okay.
Eric was
Oh my God.
Eric Cork took so long, he made us, he dominated
Oh
the show.
God.
So you forget,
I,
oh, Principal Hurt, our data man,
yeah.
the numbers.
I data
Yes.
man.
Yes. So
Yeah.
we had our
Yeah.
data man, we had our numbers guy, we had our writing guy, and we had our culturally relevant pedagogy. Yes.
Oh man. So Doc, it's really fair to say that we have everything you need in Black educators, right, as it relates to education, right? Am I right?
Listen, if you want it, we got it. If you need it, we got it. It's over
We get,
here. Just come on and join the family.
I know that's right. And then we can create specialized prescriptions, right, Doc?
That's right. We can write a prescription for you. We can customize that learning for you.
Right, right. So whatever you want, what he said, whatever you need, I'll be there for you.
I'll be there for you.
Yeah. So we have a wonderful lineup tonight. This is our final night. We're going to rock the house with these wonderful practitioners. And I just want to make a little interjection here. I was remiss in getting Brother LaRue Fitch on the platform, Doc. I really forgot to even bring him in because I wanted him to talk a little bit more about our our local chapters. But next time we'll
Hmm.
get him. And he was unavailable. He had booked some other things with his kids. But I just want to let you know, brother, we love you and we totally value your contribution. So without
Yes,
further
and you will
ado,
see him during the conference. You'll see him during the rock conference. He'll be there for the rock conference, right?
right. So without further ado, we're going to bring in our first practitioner, Mr. LeBron James. So, Doc, go ahead and let's introduce him.
So, Mr. LeBron James, guys, he's new to the BER family, but it's like he's been here forever. Like he
Yeah,
fits like oh my God, he is just like, I don't know if he's my big brother, little brother. We'll have to talk about it offline, but he is my brother nonetheless. You hear me
right.
saying big and little? I don't know yet, but I'll let you know later. I think big brother. I think he's my big brother also. So I'm going to give you guys again just a small snippet of who he is. So, Mr. LeBron James, mathematician, futurist, and education consultant. Math is emotional. LeBron James attended UCLA, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics and economics and a Master of Education from Harvard University's Graduate School of Education. Yes, I said Harvard. Having taught for 15 years, Mr. James saw the inequities in educational opportunities, which ignited his passion to support the most underserved, disenfranchised group in public schools, young students of color. LeBron designs and presents curricula and trains teachers on how to effectively instruct students of color. His company, Stimulate, STEM, Stimulate, Learning addresses Common Core state standards with an emphasis on STEM and issues of equity, cultural competence, and student engagement. Currently, LeBron is training teachers how to effectively teach online and teaches math classes online to support students during the pandemic. Without further ado, LeBron James.
Thank you so much, my sisters. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much, Tracy. I'm glad to be here. Want to give a big shout out to the BER family. Like I said, it's an honor and pleasure to be here. And so I just wanted to share a few nuggets in terms of both of my areas of expertise. One, in terms of mathematics and how do we make mathematics hot, sexy, and relevant for Black students. And then how do we create the education of the future so that we can all make sure that we're educating our kids at the highest level, and so that every Black and brown kid has a highly effective, culturally relevant, engaging teacher at their disposal and primarily at their fingertips. So
Yes.
the most interesting thing is I'll start off with my story as a mathematician. I didn't like math growing up myself. But then in the sixth grade, my father told me that I had to be a mathematician, that I had no choice. And I said, well, why do I have to be a mathematician? He said, so that you'll be the first person in the family that doesn't use a broom or a mop to make a living. So he made sure that I outworked everybody else in terms of mathematics. And so when everybody else had to do the odd problems for homework, I had to do all the problems for homework. And when everybody else was on chapter 5, section 2, I was on chapter 5, section 2, 3, 4, and 5, making sure that I was always ahead of the game in mathematics. And so even though I had it hard for a few years, that work ethic changed things for me. So by the ninth grade, math became easy. And so that led me on to UCLA, where I earned my degree in mathematics. And then I went on to teach math for 15 years. But what I really wanted to share is that my math experience, I never had anyone who looked like me during my math experience. And so that was always a struggle. So it was an identity issue, not an ability issue. I couldn't see myself as a mathematician because no one else in the math department looked like me, or very few people looked like me. And so I actually went through a bit of a depression when I was at UCLA. And in my second year of UCLA, I actually got kicked out the university. So when I got kicked out, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I can't go home. You know, they had a party for me when I left high school. So what am I going to do? So there was only one Black counselor at UCLA. And he says, look, there's only 5 Black mathematicians in the math department, and you're one of them. I'm not going to let you fail. But if you want to graduate from this school, you're going to have to promise me you want to teach math after you graduate. I said, look, teach math. I don't want to teach math. I don't even like school. I don't even want to be a teacher. But I do want to graduate from UCLA. So I agreed that I would try teaching. And so with one click of the button, he put me right back in school, and I never missed another day. And so I kept my promise, and I tried teaching afterwards. And so I taught at an all-Black school in Los Angeles, in South Central LA. Actually, it was right down the street from where Reginald Denny got pulled out the truck and beat back during the Rodney King riots. I was actually teaching that particular day. But what I learned was those kids taught me how to be a teacher. So I wasn't a teacher then, but those kids put me through the ringer and taught me how to be a teacher. And I'm thankful to those kids. But then I realized after fighting them back and forth that teaching is about relationships, as I'm sure you all know. If you can relate to the students will buy you, and then they will buy whatever it is you sell. So currently I have a consulting company where we train teachers how to teach math to Black and brown kids. And people say, wait a minute, LeBron, why can't you just say you teach all kids can learn math? Why does it have to be Black and brown kids? Well, that's because math, one, is emotional. And two, every teacher does 2 things. One, teaching is always political. And 2, teaching is always cultural. So I practice something called ethno-mathematics, which comes out of Hawaii, which basically means this, that math is universal. 2 plus 2 is the same in LA as it is in Florida. However, how you teach it is cultural. And so we have to train teachers to meet the cultural needs of their students. So we have them examine, talk to the parents, talk to the kids, what are their traditions, so they can change their instruction in order to meet the needs of the student body. And that's one of the things we really don't see in school, is that teachers changing their pedagogy to meet the cultural and social emotional needs. And another thing that gave me that epiphany was after teaching in the inner city school, I moved to a private Jewish school in Beverly Hills here in Los Angeles. And so even though I had teaching experience, the rabbis in my interview said, LeBron, what do you know about the Jewish culture? And I was like, not a whole lot. They said, well, You have to be a part of our community if you want to teach in our school. So twice a week after teaching, I would have to go study the Torah. I'd have to go to Shabbat. I have to practice the high holidays and meet with the rabbis so that I will become a part of the Jewish culture. That gave me an idea. I said, oh, culture is so important that I left the school and I applied to Harvard. I said, Harvard, I want to open up a charter school for mathematics for Black boys around their culture. And Harvard said, that's a great idea. And that's what led me to Harvard University. But while studying at Harvard, I realized that the professor said, you know what? If you want to have maximum impact, because leaving Harvard, you need to leave here with intentions of making maximum impact. That what you must do is you have to figure out how to train all teachers who are teaching Black and brown kids. So that's what led me to create my own company of going into schools and training the teachers specifically on how to connect, engage, and respect the culture of Black and brown students around mathematics. And so now that leads me to where we are today. We're dealing with this pandemic. And so the question is, what are we going to do during this time when we're sheltered in, kids are at home? Here in California, we're going to be on lockdown for another 3 months. So kids will effectively have gone 6 to 8 months with no formal education. And I admire all the teachers who are doing the best they can to provide online education for teachers, especially with no training. So my hat is off to all teachers who are doing this and the parents who are training and teaching their kids at home. But as a futurist, I've always studied the future and the future of education. And I wondered, when will there be equity in education? When will every Black and brown kid have a high quality teacher? And I said, that will not happen until we're able to teach online. And the reason is this. One, there's a shortage of teachers in the country. Two, there's a shortage of high quality, effective teachers. And three, those highly effective teachers typically don't teach or live in the hood. So what the pandemic has created is this new opportunity with online teaching to where now we can have teachers all over the country teach kids anywhere all over the country. So any kid in the hood, some kid in St. Louis can now have a math teacher from LA, can choose Lybroan James if they like. They can have an English teacher from Alabama, science teacher from Florida. So now they'll be able to pick the teachers that they want, that they connect with, and have those teachers teach them online. Now, another part that's exciting about this also is keep in mind that at every school, there's 3 or 4 high quality teachers that all the kids love and that all the other teachers hate. Now, the high performing teachers can now get paid even more for being a high quality teacher, because using the tools you have online, you'll be able to teach anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 students. It may sound crazy to some of you, but with the technology we have now and those who are highly effective teachers, you'll be able to manage classrooms of 1,000 up to 5,000, maybe even 10,000 students. So then those high quality teachers will now be getting paid per student, which changes the whole game of education, because now your superstar teachers will be getting paid like entertainers, rappers, and professional athletes. And like actors and actresses, they'll be getting paid hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million a year for being highly effective teachers. So, what does that do to the teaching profession? Now it forces underperforming teachers to step their game up. So if I'm not a high performing teacher, kids won't choose to be in my class. So I won't be able to make those kind of fees for teaching. And so it's a model that's new, but it's going to turn education on its head, because now the teaching profession will be lauded as one of the top tier careers. Do you have any idea how many people go to corporate America who said, you know what, I would love to be a teacher, but it just don't pay enough money. So I can't be a teacher. So I'm gonna have to go get this corporate job. Now those talented people who will be phenomenal teachers, who will be able to reach our kids, can come back into the profession because they will be paid and will be able to earn what they're worth by having a large number of students in their class. And so I really want to share that. I've been working on this project for almost 20 years. I've been teaching online since 2001, and I've seen it work in many different fashions. And I think it's important for us as Black people to understand, hey, we can, with our expertise in the classroom, we can teach all of our kids. We don't have to worry about there being a shortage. Now our kids can get the highest quality learning and education that they possibly want from anyone around the country. And so that's the model that we're looking at. And so I really advise the educators out there, the teachers out there who are tops of what they do, become certified in teaching online. Learn to add that to your resume or to get that skill set of training and learning to teach effectively online because you will be in high demand, especially as we transition. And so even though right now school is online, soon I believe past the pandemic, we'll at least have a blended learning model. But school, I believe, will never be the same. There will always be online classes offered that students can take. There will always be at least a blended model where there's face to face and online. And it will open up the possibilities to our students. And this is the one opportunity I see for us to have equity in education because you can't change the school's budget. You can't change where kids live. We know that there's private schools that have all kind of resources and things that a lot of our inner city schools do not have. But through this technology that we're on right now, that I'm speaking to you through, every kid in this country and every Black and brown kid, no matter where they are, can have the highest quality education from the top teachers, the dopest teachers, the most engaging teachers, the teachers whose curriculum and pedagogy is most culturally relevant. Those things can happen and they can happen now. So the education revolution is already underway, and I'm asking all of y'all to jump on board because nothing is more important than making sure our kids are prepared for the future. So for myself, I'm already designing online classes. I'm offering Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 classes. I offered them free during the pandemic for the past 8 weeks. So I had over 100 students who would come in for the last 8 weeks volunteering because I'd start my class by playing Blow the Whistle by Too Short. I play rap music. I play Drake. I play Lil Wayne. I play Lil Uzi Vert. And kids like, wait a minute, I thought this was a math class. I'm like, yes, this is a Black math class. And this is how I do it. And so all these kids were like, my teacher's boring. My teacher really doesn't understand me. And so I haven't been an online teacher for so long. I know the tricks on how to make online teaching engaging. And so it's important that our teachers get that understanding because a lot of our kids are going to be suffering because teachers believe whatever I did face to face, I can do the same thing online. And that does not transfer. There's different ways of teaching, different expectations, different ways you engage, different tools that you need. And so I'm just really asking that everyone highly consider getting those skills and being able to be flexible enough to teach your class face to face and to teach your class online. And when we get onto that online space and beat everybody else there, we'll be the ones that our kids can come to when they need that high quality education, when they will have that teacher that's demanding but yet has high expectations, because culture is the key. And I know for me in mathematics, that is the key, that if people understand that my culture, I can understand the mathematics at a higher level. And so, especially you have to have a teacher who can show you where you've been historically in relationship to math. So when I teach it, I take it all the way back to Egypt and the pyramids and to Imhotep, the original mathematician on the planet. And so in a regular math class, when you're looking at right triangles, people talk about the Pythagorean theorem. I was like, nah, homie, we don't do that. I don't mess with that Pythagorean theorem because he didn't create that theorem. I said the pyramids were built thousands of years before Pythagoras was even born. And what has Pythagoras built? Absolutely nothing. So in my class, I call it the Egyptian theorem. So the Egyptian theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I just make sure that my class is culturally relevant to my community, and whether people like it or not, it doesn't matter to me because I'm speaking to my children, making sure they get the education that they need. And as you know, the most profitable thing in America is Black culture. Black culture is one of the highest selling things in the world. But do we have the ability to sell Black culture through education? And that opportunity is coming. So to bring your knowledge level of content, your pedagogy, and to bring who you are into a class with no limitations, you will attract students from all over the country. Not only we attract the Black students, you attract the brown students, the Asian students, the white students, because everybody likes our get down. Just the way Barack Obama added swag to the White House, the way Tiger Woods multiplied golf by his presence alone, the way Venus and Serena changed tennis. Now, through this pandemic, once we become online teachers, we're going to change the face of education. We're going to change what a classroom looks like. We're going to change how it feels, because we're going to bring spirit to the classroom. We're going to bring love and care for our students to the classroom. Not saying it doesn't exist now. I'm sure it exists in many, many classrooms, but the way we do it is a different way. And so I'm really excited about doing that. And thank you so much for allowing me to share what I do and what my passion is. And like I said, I applaud all the teachers out there who are doing a great job during the pandemic right now. I wish you well and your families well. But remember, through every obstacle is an opportunity. And so we're always looking for that black swan, that opportunity to go from worst to first. And I'm telling you, in education, that time is now. Thank you very much, everybody.
Love it. Love it.
Oh my God.
Yes. That's our LeBron James.
Oh my
We have our
God.
own LeBron James. That's our LeBron James.
That's right.
That's
So,
the GOAT of mathematics. That's the GOAT of mathematics or
absolutely.
virtual learning.
Right. So, Doc, I'll be remiss if we did not share how we met him. Let's tell that story.
Tell that story, Tracy. How did we meet LeBron James?
Oh my gosh. So one of our wonderful, beautiful local chapters and one of our members, Mrs. Simone Walden, we call her our ladybug. She
Firefly,
actually,
you're a ladybug. She's
oh,
Firefly.
ladybug. Yeah, Firefly. And so she had a virtual chapter meeting, virtual chapter summit,
No,
which is
virtual conference, a summit. She had a virtual summit.
Yeah, virtual summit for local chapters, for her local chapter. And so I love the idea. I said, Doc, well, let's get on this. And so she invited us to come on as well. And so we saw LeBron James. And here I am texting Doc, we need him. And
We gotta have him. Doc, he gotta be on our team, Doc. I'm like, I see, Tracy, I see you.
I said, Doc.
And we recruited him. He was a first draft pick.
Right.
He's on the first team. He is on the first team. He is a starter. He came in. And he's been working since he came in. What was that? Just a month or so ago, LeBron?
Yeah, but I think just about a month or so ago. Like I'm so happy to be a part of the BER team. I'm like, man, I had the skills. I just need a jersey. So I appreciate the BER jersey. I'm glad I wear it proudly.
That's right.
Yeah. And we have literally talked to this man almost every day since we met him, haven't we? In some form. Either we're up, we're up late at night. Me and him and Doc, we're up late at night. We're thinking, we're planning, we're exchanging of ideas. So it's just phenomenal. We just know that he is what we've been looking for, and we're what he's been looking for as well. So
most definitely.
Team. So, brother, if you'll just hang backstage, we're gonna bring on our next person. So we'll see you in a bit. All right, Doc. So we have our next person that's coming up. Before we do that, I was remiss in sharing out our focus for this evening, which is advocacy and empowerment. And I didn't get an opportunity to have you to explain it to our viewers. So what do we mean by advocacy and empowerment?
I mean, and the words tell you exactly what they are. We're always advocating for our educators. We want to advocate for you. We want to be the wind beneath your wings. We want to make sure that we're empowering you. We want to provide you with resources and tools that are going to help you to do your job that much better. And that advocacy and empowerment, it extends to the effective components, right? It's not just about your skill sets, your professional skill sets, but it's about your spiritual health and your mental health and your self-care and all all those things, and just keeping you motivated, just keeping you keeping your head in the game. Since we just finished talking to LeBron James, let's keep that sport analogy, just to help you keep your head in the game and just make sure that you know that you have somebody that's supporting you, that has your back. And if need be, we'll get in the front of you. We'll have your back, but if we need to be in the front of you, we'll be in the front of you. And so that is our advocacy and empowerment.
Right. So without further ado, I am going to bring in our next practitioner. He's also our homeboy, Doc. You know that, right? He from Duval.
He is from Duval. He is from Duval.
He's from Duval, okay? So he know about it. So we're going to bring him in, and we're going to have you to introduce him. Here he is.
So we have LeBron James, but we also have our own MJ baby, not Michael Jordan, but Marcus Jackson, Dr. MJ. We have a whole all-star team over here. And so who just came into the screen is Dr. Marcus Jackson, known fondly by us as Dr. MJ. So again, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about him before he gets into his conversation. Dr. Marcus Jackson is an internationally recognized educator, professional author, and expert in curriculum, instruction, and school administration. His 20-year career is distinguished by increased student achievement and school improvement. He has served as a teacher, assistant principal, and administrator in elementary, middle, high school, and as a college professor. That is just a snippet of who this man is. And so our other all-star, our other starter, Dr. MJ, it's all yours.
And our homeboy.
Greetings.
And our homeboy.
How you doing, Ms. Oliver and Dr. Chester? First of all, welcome everyone. I'd like to start off by simply thanking you for this platform, Ms. Oliver and Dr. Chester. It's just been awesome these past couple nights. Also, I'd like to thank everyone who've been on these past couple nights. I've walked away with about 5 pages. And every time I speak with that team of educators, I'm filled with energy, excitement, and enthusiasm. I always walk away stronger, always walk away better. And if I walk away stronger and better, I'm able to pass that knowledge on to my principals, who are going to pass it on to their teachers, and who's going to pass it on to prized possession, and that's our kids, them as well. But most importantly, I would like to thank you, and thank you to our teachers. I'm a teacher's number one. First of all, I'd like to thank our teachers, and I say that 3 times because lunch isn't good enough. I would thank our teachers for always going above and beyond the call of duty. I'd like to thank our teachers for their innovation, their flexibility, their resiliency, their resolve, their intestinal fortitude, especially with what we're dealing with now. We were told at 1 o'clock on a Friday that we will not be having school for about 30 to 45 days. By that Tuesday, our principals and teachers already had a plan of action in place. They were videotaping lessons. They were communicating with their parents, communicating with their students before the Department of Education or the district office could even design a plan of action. Our teachers already was in action, and that was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing to me. And also, finally, thank you to my teachers for always ensuring that our future is bright. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise as it relates to our students. The title of my presentation is Lost Instructional Time, Reentry, Recovery, and Resurgence. We're going to talk about how that reentry plan is going to look, recovery, how that's going to look, and resurgence. But I'm not going to be long at all because I'm actually going to present a detailed plan on this later on at the ROC conference. But I'm going to touch on some things that I would like teachers and principals to start thinking about now. First of all, as an administrator, my school year ran from March to March. That means when March 16 came around and school closed, or shut down, as they say, we were already prepping for testing. All the standards had been covered. It was just review time. So there's no doubt in my mind when our students come back and return to us, if we have the proper plan of action in place and we treat them correctly, and we have everything that they need in place, our students will perform. So there's no doubt in my mind that's going to happen. I am constantly asked Dr. Jackson, as they told you in my biography, Dr. Jackson, how have you become so successful in some of the most challenging schools around the country? And I always convey to them the effective domain. Always focus on the people. Unfortunately, in this profession, we sort of been brainwashed where we go strictly to the cognitive, the points and percentages. However, it is my philosophy that if you focus on the people and building the people up and inspiring the people, you're able to ignite that flame of hope. And once that flame of hope is ignited with the teacher and the principal, that student is going to go to another level. So tonight, I'm going to share a couple of things with you. But first of all, let me start off by saying it's very, very important, and have a pen, write these notes down. I want you to remember this. When we return, which we may not return, we may be virtual. Currently, right now, districts have a couple plans. If we return to normal, how would that look? We must have a plan for that. If we only going on a hybrid schedule, half day here, or half week, Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and Thursday, you must be prepared for that. And additionally, we must be prepared for what about e-learning? If we're going as we are now. So we must have a plan of action in place for one of those, which personally, hopefully we go back, but honestly, I don't see that happening. But when we do, I need you to be prepared to answer a couple questions from your students. Number one, what happened? What happened? A large percent of our students don't know what happened. The entire world was, and we're going to have to provide them with an answer. Why weren't we able to come to school? You obviously can link both of those together. When are things going to return to normal? And how am I going to learn from you on a computer when we only have one computer at home and my mom needed for a job and I have 5 brothers and sisters? So teachers and educators and principals, we must be prepared to answer that first. And now I'm going to go into what I call my 6 C's of that we must be prepared for going into the next school year, the 2021 school year. The first C is simply care. You must take care of yourself. Currently, right now, in this country, in this world, nobody is totally okay. Everybody's world has been changed upside down. I'm not okay. And I consider myself one of the most optimistic individuals on the planet, one of the most positive people you ever run into. However, I have my challenges dealing with this. The other day, I went to the mailbox like 8 or 9 times. That's totally abnormal, but I need to get out of the house. One day I got up. I got totally dressed, put my suit and tie on, put me some cologne on, and walked to the living room and said, man, I don't have nowhere to go. And I just sat down with a laptop in the living room. So psychologically and socially, everybody has been affected. So I would like for my principals and my teachers and staff members, if you're dealing with kids in any type of capacity, take care of yourself first. Secondly, you must have some type of detailed plan in place, specifically as it relates to social emotional learning with our kids. That's been a buzzword for the past 7-8 years. However, we haven't been finding time for that. You got to spend X amount of time in ELA, X amount of time in math. We don't have time for it. Well, you better make time for it. And usually that's the first 20, 30 minutes of the day. I'm currently working with some of the best principals on the planet in Calcasieu Parish in our zone schools. And each and every one of them have been able to turn their schools around in the right direction by simply, number one, having a strong social emotional program in place. So I encourage everybody to start there. The second C is culture and climate. Now, that's the culture and climate of the school. Brother Lybroan James just hit a home run a minute ago talking about culture And many times when people hear culture, the first thing they think of is race. But as it relates to a school, there's so many different barriers to that. As a matter of fact, there are 5 components of culture. The first one, what's the school culture? That's simply how we do things around here. How do things operate here at this school? The second one, classroom culture. And that's different from teacher to teacher. The third, what's the student culture at the school? How do the students react to one another and how do the students behave? The fourth is the adult culture. How do the teachers respond to one another? How do the teachers respect one another? How do the teachers respect the children? And finally, what's the community culture? What's going on outside of these the walls of this school that can affect what's going on in the school? So those 5 things that you actually have to be able to address. The third C, which is critical, going back, the first day of school will not be the same this year. Yes, there'll be a lot of energy, excitement, and enthusiasm. However, there'll be a great deal of fear, anxiety, and stress. And that's coming from the principal, the teachers, and the student. Now, the parents are going to be happy that some type of school is opening back up, but they're going to feel some anxiety as well, especially if we go back to the learning piece. So it's important for our principals to be very, very confident in a plan of action in place, be able to answer those questions, because there's going to be a great deal of uncertainty. It's going to be important for the teacher to be very, very confident because her students are going to be leaning on her, leaning on him, leaning on them for hope, which they don't have right now, and they're coming back with anxiety. Principal, teachers, and the students, it's going to be imperative that we are confident for one another. And the fourth C is competency. E-learning. Lybroan James just got off here, and I've been hanging out with his brother the past 3 weeks, and he is the guru. I can't wait to share your information with my principals and teachers. And how do you have 94% attendance with 200 kids from the hood? So you tell me what can't be done. However, he just gave you a simple way how he hooks his kids in. Every week, they get an opportunity, a group of them get an opportunity to choose a song. And yes, he's too short, blow the whistle, but it was the instrumental. It wasn't the actual song. But he connected with his kids from a cultural perspective. One of the other things Lybroan does, at the beginning of every lesson, he do a pulse check. Remember I talked about care? He said math is emotional. He asks his kids in his class, how are you feeling today on a scale of 1 through 10? That is so serious. He gets some 8s. He gets some 10s. He gets some 2s. Now, for those students who are at a 2, at a 4, automatically in Lybroan's mind, he knows I need to contact these students after this class to find out what's going on, because kids have so much going on. So you have to be competent of the e-learnings. Nobody was. Our students have been begging us. Our students have been begging us for years, but they've been doing it through the cell phone. They've been asking us, give us a different way of learning. And we've been kicking them out of school over a cell phone policy when we've been using long. So now we're using Canvas, Zoom, Microsteam, or your district's platform. It's imperative that you become an expert in that area, because parents are going to reach out to you and say, how do I operate this piece? Number 5, you must be culturally connected to your students. I talked about that culture piece. What's going on around you? Relation you actually serve. And Lybroan gave an excellent example. You want to be hired in this community. You have to be embedded in the Jewish community if you want to be a math teacher. So what's different from our community? Why an African American studies studied in school? And he connected with his students with music. That is so important. You must be connected to your kids. And finally, you must communicate effectively. I think matter of fact, I know these past 8 months, parents, teachers, principals, and district level officials, pastors from certain communities. No one has ever communicated any more about school than they have done this year in my 20 years of education. Everybody's communicating with one another, and that communication must remain in place. The emails, the social media, the parent portals, the robocalls, all of that must continue moving forward, because we're about to go into a storm, and it's imperative that everyone is informed. And finally, as I end this session, I want to give you a quote, and it's one of my favorite quotes, and that is, our choices affect their chances. Our choices affect our students' chances. Let's choose correctly and give them an opportunity. And I'm here to tell you that we got this. We're going to do well. Our students are going to be ready, but we must be ready. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. MJ, that's your new name for us, Dr. MJ. Dr. MJ.
I've been calling Dr. MJ, right, Dr. MJ?
Yes, we have.
Okay, well, I picked it up. Dr. M, thank you so much for your 5 areas of competency. We do appreciate you so much. You're just such a valuable asset to us. And when we talk all the time, you talk about your teachers, and you talk about the love for the students. You talk about the change that you want to embed into the different contents and making sure that it's culturally relevant pedagogy. I mean, your heart is totally in the game, and that's what we need. We need our kings to be in the game for us. And so that's why we're so excited to actually have you here. Any other thoughts about his presentation, Doc?
I mean, you know, Dr. MJ does what he does. He comes up and he scores. Like I said, we have an all-star team. And, you know, this has nothing to do with his presentation, but ladies, we have the most phenomenal Black men in education in Black Educators Rock. I mean, you can just come and just look at them and admire them, if nothing else. You know, that's what we do. We just admire them and admire their strength and their beauty and their wisdom. I mean, there are no men like Black Educators Rock men. I just want to thank you, Dr. MJ, for thinking it not robbery to be a part of our organization.
Absolutely. And so our men are so impactful, and so we even have people to actually come in and bring them things.
They even come and court them. They court them doing their presentations.
Stop it.
Okay. Hey, if you weren't there, it's one of those things. Hey, you gotta be there to understand it. It's only for those. Hey,
what is this? What is this? Who is this for?
Who this woman, Harpo? Who this was?
Let's move on to the next presenter.
Guys, we're more than just a Facebook group. You got to be a part of our organization. Well, Dr. Jackson, we do appreciate you so much. It's all in fun. It's an inside joke. We all know what it is, but we thank you so much for all your contributions. So without further ado, we're going to hang out backstage. We're going to bring you back later on. We're going to go ahead and introduce our next phenomenal king. Oh my gosh. So Dr. Chester actually introduced me to this next speaker. I'm just learning him. I don't know him, hadn't known him for a long time, but I think I kind of know him a little bit better. And with his insightful humor. So we're going to go ahead and bring him in. There he is.
Hey, Dr. Phil. We got Dr. Phil, y'all. We even have our own Dr. Phil. Y'all, and guess what? He's a clinical psychologist. Is that correct?
Well, I have 5 graduate degrees and a doctorate. So psychology.
But you do something with psychology, yes. And he does our Dr. Phil is into psychology too. Hey, we even have our own Dr. Phil. Hey, y'all better get with the program. We got MJ, Lybroan James, Dr. Phil. Hey, we have an all-star cast, baby. Nothing like BER.
We have it all. So, Dr. Phillip, we do appreciate you joining us. I know I asked you at short notice, but you didn't even hesitate to offer some of your time for us, and we're so excited about the things that you have already contributed to the organization and the things that we're going to do in the future. So, without further ado, I have Dr. Chester to introduce you and read your bio.
And yes, and before I say that, so like we said, Lybroan James and Dr. Phil are two newer members of Black Educators Rock, but I mean, they came in boots on ground. They've been working. Dr. Phil is someone I met at another conference earlier, last year, actually, the end of last year, and I was like, we have to get him a part of the team. And once the team met him, they loved him, and he's been working ever since. And so, without further ado, I'm going to read his bio. Dr. Philip Hickman, Heroic Progress. Philip W.V. Hickman, EDD, is a leading expert and authority on educational technology, personalized learning, and behavior modification for millennials. His research and implementation of technology has increased student academic performance across the K-16 sectors. An experienced personalized learning expert and leadership development coach, Dr. Hickman has delivered presentations and workshops across the country for the United States Department of Education, universities, and professional organizations that serve the education and technology fields. Also, a published author, Dr. Hickman's innovative personalized learning and behavior modification methods are exemplified in his book and animated short film, Stop Dribbling Footballs. As one of Kansas City, Missouri's top ed tech influencers, Dr. Hickman is the founder of Mindable Solutions, LLC, a technology solutions firm. A 2018 Launch KC grant recipient, Dr. Hickman developed an educational technology reading platform, Playbook, to bring innovation to reading and to solve the problem of early reading proficiently. He graduated with honors from University of Missouri, obtaining 5 postgraduate degrees in psychology and education and a doctorate degree in education from St. Louis University. Prior to opening his technology company, Dr. Hickman worked as an area and assistant superintendent for Houston Independent School District. He also worked as an assistant superintendent in Kansas City, Missouri. He served in Mississippi as a superintendent of schools, where he invented an innovative personalized learning and adaptive assessment curriculum focusing on technology and increased student graduation rate from 40 to 80% in less than 3 years. During his time as superintendent, Dr. Hickman also increased dual enrollment for high school students to 200% and partnered with the state of Mississippi to implement the first pathways model for kindergarten to 12th grade. Without further ado, Dr. Philip W.V. Hickman, aka Dr. Phil.
All right.
How are you ladies doing today?
All right. Hey, Dr. Phil. You know what, Dr. Phil, I got to tell you, when Dr. Chester introduced me to you afterwards that evening, I said, Doc, where you get all these smart people from? Who is? I don't know these people. We're certainly glad that she brought you on and you're part of the team.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and always willing to serve, especially on the platform of education. This is a great organization that's reaching so many people, so I'm the one that's honored.
All right. So what's your title?
So, I want to talk about heroic progress from a leadership standpoint. And when I talk about that today, when I say leaders, I believe that everybody's a leader. So we're not only talking about the superintendent, the central office folks, the principals, but we have leaders within the classroom. And obviously, because of this pandemic, we have leaders within our community. Our parents are stepping up as leaders and leading the education function. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And it's going to be a short talk. We're going to, dig into some truths in education. And then we're going to kind of narrow it out after that. But what I want to talk about is understand that in education right now, we have to shoot first and ask questions later. And what I say that is that our kids do not have any time to wait. It's because of the rapid change of time. As a leader, you have to expect to plant the seed, so implement it in the daytime, and you need to be cutting the grass by noon, not at the end of the day. Our kids only have one opportunity at first grade or one opportunity at second grade, hopefully. And that opportunity, it's on us to make sure that they're successful, that we wrap around a personalized learning environment for each and every student so that they can continue on their pathway through education. We have learned in our urban school systems, which make up 65% of our community, that our kids come out of each grade with the Swiss cheese effect. And so because of sometimes our curriculums are not aligned from grade level to grade level, because sometimes it depends on what teacher they get and who they interact with, that they miss areas of foundations in their learning. And that Swiss cheese effect continue because education builds on each other, and that they have that Swiss cheese effect. Then we have our kids who have, are at sixth grade, but read at the first grade level. And we have such a wide gap to accomplish that we have to look at what I call heroic progress. All too often, our communities and our school systems, our community is seeing now, because even us as parents and myself, we're at home educating our kids, and I'm like, you should be getting this now. But as everybody usually judges us, they judge us on performance, right? They judge us on our academic achievement. But in certain school systems, especially our urban school systems, we have to look at heroic progress. We have to look at growth. There never is no achievement without growth. And so when we look at our data and we have a youngster that is at the fifth grade level, they read at the first grade level, and we allowed them through our hard work to grow 3 grade levels in 1 year, that's heroic progress. That's when we start labeling our teachers as superheroes, or our administrators and our principals as superheroes within the school system, because that is a large overhaul to help our students grow within that short period of time. But there's a whole plethora of things that we need to have in order for that to be successful. And one of the things that we cannot forget is the social emotional development of our students. I wrote one of my books, it's called Emotives. And there's a chapter within my book that within the chapter, I had interviewed students at all grade levels. And I reported back what our students were saying. And it wasn't prompt for these responses to be from a social emotional level. But some of the quotes I had a student say is, I'm just trying to survive. I know I'm going to die soon. And that was from a 16-year-old. I had a 13-year-old that said, I've seen too many things in my lifetime. You guys send me to doctors that say I'm paranoid, but to me, this is my reality. This is my life. These are real worries. I shouldn't have to be exposed to these things. This is a 13-year-old student. And I have, even more where I have a student that talks about sometimes my eyes are closed and I visualize that I'm living differently, that I'm happy, that I do not have this exposure of violence. And then I wake up and I still realize that I'm here. I'm still in my situation. And so we have to realize that those students come into our classroom every day. And now because of the pandemic, those students actually come into our platform every day. And if you look at the statistics of what they're saying from crime records, that child abuse has gone down. And it's not that child abuse has stopped because we're in a pandemic. Is that the reporting of child abuse has gone down because they're at home or they're in their environment the whole time and they're not able to report it to someone. And so we have to look at the social emotional development of our students still when we're in this large pandemic and figure out better ways to be effective in reaching our students, whether it's virtually, to figure out how we can still develop relationships, because without relationships, there's rebellion. And so we have to figure out what is the sweet spot, just like Brother Lybroan said, that he takes a pulse of his students. And then afterwards, he makes a connection with those students. And just like Dr. Jackson said, this is the first time probably in history that we have such a strong communication between school and home. And so we have to figure out, and we have to make every effort to do so. That's why we have to shoot first and ask questions later. When we look at the social emotional development of our students, we have to be intentional. We have to be intentional the very minute second that we are face to face with our students, that we are intentional about personalizing their learning in every aspect. So not just academic achievement, but we have to look at behavior as well. The same thing, that if we have a student that is struggling academically, we remediate, right? We make an intervention. But yet when we have a student that is struggling academically, I've seen a lot of things where I've seen students say, hey, you need to log off the platform, or we're going to call your parent. Or we, in a classroom setting, we usually say, hey, we'll kick the student out of class. But instead, we need to develop personalized plans for that individual student so that we can make sure that that youngster is successful. When we look at the area of academic achievement, and this is a widespread problem, this is not just an urban problem. The research in December 19th, 2019, said that 75% of our children are reading below grade level in the 4th grade in the entire United States. So it's becoming not even a zip code issue, that it's an issue that we are lacking the appropriate instructions for our students to be successful in this day and age. And we all know that in the era of technology, that we have to look at developing these skills. And these skill sets come from learning and reading. And when I talked to one of my friends from McDonald's, and he told us, he said, hey, look, in a few years, we will not have people at all. And I tell the story, I remember that. I remember driving to a Walmart, and a Wendy's. And when I went up to the Wendy's and no one was helping me, and I was looking around, and I was like, hey, can I get some service? And the kid that was back there making the sandwiches said, look in front of you, mister, look at the kiosk. And so I was like, wow, and I pushed the button.
Doc, I think we're having technical difficulties with.
Okay, I was like, I think he froze up on us. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna. He'll probably pop back in, but
Okay, want to go ahead and bring in Coach Johnson?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and bring in Coach Johnson. Dr. Hickman, if you can hear me, we'll bring you back in to finish up your piece. So let's go ahead and bring in Coach.
Hey.
Hey, that one gotta go. That's all. Again, you had to be to the rock.
No, you didn't.
Understand that statement. If you weren't at the rock conference, try us again in 2021. Maybe you run back around.
I know that's right.
Hey, did I just team, y'all. Here is the coach to the team, Coach Carlos Johnson. Here's our coach.
Hey, did I just hear that brother say, shoot first and ask questions last? Oh, man. I love it. I'm on the right team. I'm on the right team. I'm a revolutionary. So I love what he just said. I mean, God, I love what he just said. I'm on the right team. I'm on the right team with a group of revolutionaries. Sign me up. Put me in the game. I'm good.
Coach Carlo, you the one bring them in off the bench. We got you and the Godfather handling it all up.
Hey, that's good. Just let me in.
Guys, God is bringing us. I mean, this is God ordained. I mean, God is bringing us all the right puzzle pieces. Like our team is phenomenal. We cannot wait to bring to you guys what we are working on in the very near future. And so, Coach Carlos is someone we met at our fourth Rock Conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we had to have him. And he said yes. When we propose and they say yes, they have to understand down by death, right? To death do us part.
That's right. Sign me up.
You ain't going nowhere. So, Coach, we thank you so much for being a part of us. Like Dr. Chester said, we immediately just gravitated to you with your calm spirit and your brilliant content and the way that you lay things out. You're certainly an asset and a contribution to our work, and we look forward to having many more opportunities to work with you. So, without further ado, we're going to allow for Dr.
Tracy, you have to read his bio because it's cut off on mine. It just has, it's
really?
Cut off, completely cut off. Yes.
Okay.
It says message truncated.
Oh, well, that's not good. Okay, so let me click over and let me see if I can read his. So you guys still see me?
Yes.
We got it.
Okay, great. Okay, so let me find Coach Carlos's bio. Okay, here we are. His title is The Power of Engagement, the one thing that changes everything. Okay, Mr. Johnson, aka Coach Carlos, is a professional speaker, trainer, author, and educator. His training and strategies revolutionize school culture, increase parental engagement, student enrollment, and student retention. His driving belief is, after 20 years of research, all evidence confirms that a highly engaged school culture is the mother of high performance. Ladies and gentlemen, to you, Coach Carlos.
Hey. Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you, ladies, for plucking me out of working in this educational field and asking me to be a part of it. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be amongst these gentlemen and ladies that you have assembled. I am a revolutionary at heart at all things that I do. So when I hear things like Lybroan James talking about math is emotional and what he's doing with young people, hearing Dr. Marcus Jackson talking about what he's going to lay out this plan at the BER conference, and you all better be there because he's going to lay that plan out. Because people are scared, and it sounds like this brother's got the plan. When I hear Principal Kafele doing what he's doing, these are revolutionaries, and that's what I'm about. I understand the term of transformation, and that's a good thing. But to me, when I hear transformation, the process is too slow for me. We need revolution, and schools have to be transformed at a faster pace, and that requires revolution. So I'll jump right into this. One thing I wanted to share with you all is just a funny story happened to me today. I was racing, doing a couple things today, and I'm in the, you know how lanes on the freeways work. The right lane is for the slow drivers, and the left lane is for the fast drivers. And I'm running late, so I'm not going to tell y'all how fast I was going, but I'm running to get to my place. And this person in front of me, I'm saying lady, but this person in front of me was driving slow in the left lane. And I kept saying over and over, lady, lead or get out the way. Lead or get out the way. You're in the wrong lane. Lead or get out the way. And I kept saying that, and it dawned on me. That's what we have to do at Black educators. We've got to lead, and we've got to tell districts around this country, lead or get out the way. Schools, lead or get out the way. Teachers, lead or get out the way. We got some kids who need to learn. So in the short time that I have here today, I just want to talk about 4 mindsets of engagement. I'm going to lay them out as best as I can in this short time, but I would encourage you not to just come hear me talk about it in July in Jacksonville, but come hear what all we have to say about revolutionizing school culture. Come here, Sean Hurt. Come here, Lybroan James. Come here, Principal Kafele. Come hear us as we talk about transforming, revolutionizing school culture, because we're talking about you all got to lead or get out the way. So just real quickly about me, I've transformed and worked in schools all around this country. I've worked in charter schools and traditional public schools and private schools. And what I've learned in those 2 decades of working with schools is that there are 3 things that schools have to look at. And then I'm going to talk about mindsets of engagement. But I don't care who you are, where you are. I don't care what your socioeconomic status is. I don't care what your demographics are. Whatever school you're in, you better look for these 3 indicators. You better always be looking to see if you are recruiting new kids, because ever since charter schools came into the game, and I love charter schools, don't get me wrong, any quality schools, but competition came into the game. So you've got to learn to recruit as a school, but you also have got to learn how to watch if you're able to retain the kids that you recruited. Because if you can't recruit, you're going to die. If you can't retain the kids that you recruited, you're going to die. But once you've recruited the kids and once you retain them, the third thing schools have to do is they've got to make sure students respond academically and behaviorally to quality instruction. Because if you get them in the building and can't keep them, you die. If you get them in the building and can't keep them, or if you get them in the building and you keep them, but they're not learning or they're fighting, you got a dead culture. 3 things when I assess school cultures I'm always looking for is I'm looking at behavioral data, I'm looking at performance data, I'm looking at attendance data, but I'm not just looking at data just for data's sake, but data tells me a lot about the culture, and it tells me a lot about how stakeholders are engaging one another. And for all of those who are listening, we've got 5 stakeholders, but there are 2 that you better watch that they engage very well. You better watch the relationships between teachers and students, but you also better watch the relationships between teachers and families. When those 2 are clicking, if you've got bad relationships, bad engagement between teachers and students, you're in trouble. Behaviorally, academically, you're in trouble. And you can't enroll kids. We forget about enrollment. You've got to watch those two relationships closely. So what I want to jump into real quick following that is there's one thing that affects all 3 of those. One thing that changes everything. And that one thing is engagement. Engagement and the quality of engagement between stakeholders affects recruiting. The quality of stakeholder engagement affects retention, and relationships and engagement affects response to quality instruction. Engagement is the one thing that changes everything. There's a book out, and I would encourage you all to get it if you just need one more book to read, is pick up the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. Inside this book, he talks about a focusing question. And the focusing question merely says is, what's the one thing I can do that if by doing so, it will make everything else easier or unnecessary? Let me say that again, because this focus question is powerful. What's the one thing I can do that if by doing so, it makes everything else easier or unnecessary? And I challenge you to use that focus question on everything that you do. In education, I challenge teachers and districts to ask themselves that focus question. What's the one thing we can do in this building that if by doing so, it will make everything else easier or unnecessary? And I've answered that question. In my book, Power Engage, and my system of engagement, I share with districts, I share with teachers that engagement is the one thing that changes everything. And if you don't believe me, look at John Hattie's work, 195 points of achievement. And what he talks about, without going into a lot of detail, is that point 4 is 1 year's, the effect size at point 4 is 1 year's growth. But at 0.72 is teacher-student engagement. But if you look up at all 95 levels of achievement, every single thing requires engagement. You can't do anything in the building if you don't have healthy engagement. You can't do anything. You can't recruit new kids. You can't keep the kids and the quality teachers that you have. And you sure won't be able to manage your classroom or have healthy behavior and performance if you can't engage. You have to be able to engage. It is the one thing that changes everything. So I got a few minutes left, and what I'm going to do is run through 3-4 quick mindsets of engagement. And I won't be able to unpack them very thick just because of time. But here's what I know about teachers. If you ask them, do you believe all kids can learn? They'll say yes, but there's a but. What I encourage them, get your butts out the way today. Get your butts out the way. I need everybody here to get your butt out the way, because it's your butt that's preventing kids from learning. Let me give you the first engagement mindset that has a but that's stopping our kids from learning. I believe all kids can learn, but only the ones that are competent. That's the competent engagement mindset. They believe the bell curve. They believe the Darwin theory. They believe in the fixed mindset. They believe that nature has already picked out the winners. Competent engagement. So they believe that if this kid is smart, I'll engage them. Be careful. Get your butt out the way. The second one is the cultural but. I believe all kids can learn, but if they fit in our culture. If this kid fits in my culture, if he conforms to our culture, I'll engage him. If she assimilates to our culture, I'll engage him. Get your butt out the way for this kid can learn. The third engagement mindset is the connection mindset. This is the teacher says, I believe all kids can learn, but I just don't connect with that kid. I don't connect with those kinds of kids. We don't have anything in common. But if we did, I'll engage them. Get your butts out the way. But there's a fourth mindset that engages all kids. And those are the ones that I love to see. Now I'll unpack this and give you more data, give you science and psychology behind it at the BER conference. This last mindset is the coach's mindset. The coach's mindset says, I believe all kids can learn, period. All it takes is all stakeholders to roll up their sleeves and get involved. They don't have any buts. I believe they all can learn, period. The coach gets in the game and gets all kids involved. They believe in a we, not an I. Just look at sports for a minute. I'm from Detroit, so I was there with the Bad Boys with Chuck Daly. He took a crazy Negro like Rodman, and because he believed in the team and they all had a goal to win, he engaged crazy Rodman and got him into the fold. And Rodman became one of the best rebounders the game has ever known. Look at what happens with the New England Patriots. Look at sports teams all over this country. When coaches believe in a we and not an I, they engage everybody because they want the team to win. See what happens in our classrooms? We don't want the team to win. We pre-select and pre-sort which kids are going to win. We already know that that's a smart kid. That's a better kid. That kid's not as good as the other ones. Now, we're not talking about racism. It's not what I'm talking about. Although there are some racist teachers out there. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our butts that get in the way of all kids learning. Our mindsets that we've got to deal with that prevent us from using the most powerful tool known to man. And that is the human spirit. You want to touch some kids? You want to turn some kids on? I don't care what their socioeconomic status is. You start by going south to north. And I need to stand up so you can see what I mean by that. You got to go from the heart to the head, not from the head to the heart. North to south is from kids who already can get it. You teach south to north, from the heart to the head. And when the heart and the head connect, mwah. But we teach from the head down. That's the wrong place to start. The one thing that changes everything is engagement. The one thing, if you do that, and by doing so, it'll make everything else easier or unnecessary. This is Coach Carlos. That's my story, and I'm sticking to
it.
Awesome song. Yeah, love it. South to the north, not south. That's right.
Hey, we got to get our butts out the way.
You absolutely
get your
right.
butt out the way.
Only at the Rock Conference. Bye, Felicia. Guys, we are more than just a Facebook group. If you're not a part of us, you are actually missing out. Especially if you are an educator within our community, you are totally missing out on the things that we need to have for us and for our children. So Doc has already shared. You can go to our website, and it's only $50 a year to join, and that's something that's very economical for our community. You just get so much more than those $50 that you pay. It's absolutely revolutionary and transformational at best.
Yeah.
Please go join. So we missed a little piece of Dr. Hickman. We're going to bring him back in. So Coach Carlos, you stay backstage, and then our other guests who were on for the first and second nights, if you are available, I'll put the link in the chat for you guys. We would like for you to come on. Doc and I would like to give you an opportunity to say some final closing words since it's our final evening, and we would like to hear from you. So stay tuned. We're going to bring in Dr. Hickman.
All right.
I brought in Dr. Jackson by mistake. Sorry. Okay. So, what's up, brother?
All right, so I'm gonna get to it. You won't believe. So I'm here talking about technology, and I got everybody's neighborhood kid outside my door, and my kids on my internet, and frozen internet. But that's a reality because we have to think about that. You know, our children are in homes with multiple people, where people have phones and they have other computers, and we only have one internet, and so that's just a reality that what can happen. I would have got yelled at by my teacher, probably thinking I was playing around or something. But real quick, I just want to talk about, just kind of piggybacking on what I was talking about with Stop Dribbling Footballs is a book that I developed. And Stop Dribbling Footballs was really to teach about the hidden rules of students. When I was in West Junior High in Belleville, Illinois, sort of by the East St. Louis area, and I was a principal, and my students just continued to kind of do things. And what I found out was they just really didn't have access to the hidden rules. And so, we started with the analogy of basketball where, we're going with sports. And I would tell them, I would say, look, if I'm dribbling the ball and I'm dribbling down the court, this is a championship game, and there's a couple of seconds left, and you tackle me, is that smart or stupid? And I mean, the kids just start laughing. That's stupid. That's stupid. And I say, exactly. You're not, but it's just as stupid to play the game of school using out of school rules. And then the kids are like, wow, then they really want to listen. Then we start to really talk about, what are some of the out of school rules that are interfering with our children being successful? And one of them is language. A lot of times they just are in the wrong language registry. And that's what got them sent to my office. So for instance, there was I had an English class, language arts class, and the teacher asked, the kids their opinion on their work. And this student said, oh, that's crazy. And the teacher was offended. So she sent me to my office. She said, this student is being disruptive. And I told him, I said, hey, let's look at what you said. How could you have said this different in school language? And he was like, I don't like this. And I said, well, come better with a better vocabulary. And he said, this assignment no longer brings me joy. And that was right. And that was the registry or the language that he had access within our school system. And so the book Stop Dribbling Footballs is telling us that we have to be, again, intentional about direct teaching our kids what the hidden rules that they need to have to be successful. And our community is called code switching. And no one will be successful if they didn't code switch. So if I was at a football game and I was excited, I'm if I'm in church and I'm excited, I may be doing this. And it's the same thing with language. If I go to try to get a loan and I say I ain't got none, chances are you don't have no job either if you go to a job interview, or you won't get any money. And so I had to direct teach my kids when they said, Dr. Hickman, why do you talk like that around us? And you talk different around us, and you talk like this around other administration and all those kind of things. And I said, hey, they said, why you talk like a white person? I said, that's not white language. That's green language. In order for me to get a loan, in order for me to get a job, in order for me to get an education, this is the language registry that I had to be in. And so I had to really learn how to direct teach behavior, just like you would direct teach academics. And, one of the things were when I was first teaching, and this was in Columbia, Missouri, and we had a bunch of new teachers at the time. And we had this one teacher, and she was, we were real close, and she was telling me, hey, I got my roster. She's bragging about the kids, and she's looking at their IQ scores and seeing 123 and 130 and 115 and all these kind of things. And these students were high achieving on high IQ scores. And so she went in the classroom, and she, first year teacher, and taught her behind off. And these students actually outperformed everyone else within the school system within that grade level. And so at the end of the year, she won this award, and she couldn't understand. And she got up and did a great speech. And afterwards, we were around, and the principal came around, and other people from other schools and superintendent, everybody said, how did you do it? How did you teach those students to be successful? And she said, look, it wasn't something that I did. I didn't, it wasn't any magic sauce I did. I had the gifted students. And they looked at her and they said, gifted students? You had the most behavioral challenged students within the school system. Those students have been kicked out of every school district and every classroom there is. How did you get those students to pay attention? And she said, no, I had their roster. If you look by their names, they had high IQs. So we went back to look at this, and come to find out, that was these students' locker numbers. So she mistaking these students for having high IQs, and that was her expectation. And therefore, that's how she taught. And she didn't let not one student fail within her classroom, and made sure that because of her expectations, that she made sure that she differentiated her instruction to bring everybody to that high level, and no excuses were possible. And that's what we have to think about as a teacher. One is we have to believe that every student can achieve at their high level. We have to personalize instruction to make sure that every student is successful. We have to think that all of our students are gifted, no matter where they come from, no matter if they were the students that I read before that are having a negative outlook on life. We have to make sure that we are that light and that inspiration for our children. And we have to make sure that we don't allow our personal problems to intervene in that. I tell people all the time as an administrator, and I tell my teachers, I say, hey, look, your worst day is some child's best day. Your worst day is some child's best day. And so make sure that you leave that at the door, and you come in and you help these students and these youngsters feel the love, feel high expectations, and we make sure that they're all successful. And last but not least, and when I look at professional development, because that's important, we have to make sure that we train like Navy SEALs. And so that's constant training. That's constant holding our track. Remember, I said we have to shoot first and ask questions later. We have to build that plane while flying. And so because we're in uncharted territories, just like everyone else, our kids still cannot suffer at our lack of uncomfort with technology, our lack of comfort with technology, or our lack of understanding, because we know that this little box in your hand, this little box has access to any information. There is no excuse not to be able to grasp any information and communicate and develop teacher focus groups, to develop higher learning communities, to be able to learn what you need to learn to be impactful for these students. I believe in, how do you do it? How do we do it? We had teachers and students in our school, again, a 40% graduation rate in our district. We had students that in our third grade, we had a third grade reading gate where students have to pass a certain reading score in order to be passed to the next level. We had a 40% third grade reading gate level. When I left, we had 93% of our students were successful. And one of the things that we did was we really looked at, okay, what professional development model can we have? And we looked at, what does that look like at the end of this year? Where do we need to be at the end of this year? And we did a backwards design. So what does that look like 11 months, 10 months, 9 months, all the way down to 30 days? And we had 30-day non-negotiables. And what does that look like, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? And even if it's something that's just turn it on the computer button, which sounds silly, I'm just, saying as an example, well, that one, we will have coaches that will come in 1 week on and 1 week off. And so we had side-by-side coaches. We had virtual coaches side by side, and they will give our teachers instructions that 1 week, and then a 1 week off. It allowed our teachers to practice their craft. And then we had teachers who developed as high flyers. Remember, I talked about leaders are not just your principals and your superintendents. We had teacher leaders within that building that we started to train with the training model, and they were your resident experts. And so because we differentiated, we know that not only students need differentiated instructions, our adults did too. So those teachers who had more of a problem with the implementation, they stayed after with our resident expert teachers, which we call T3s, teachers training teachers. And those teachers, they knew the lingo, they knew that they had a shared understanding, and they were able to get all of our teachers up to where we need to get them. And so that's why 6 months down the road, what we did was, after our 30-day non-negotiables, we accomplished them. Then we celebrated our small success, and then we moved on. And then the next, we celebrate small success, and we moved on. And pretty soon, everybody was proficient in integration of technology within our school system. Our students were benefited by having high quality instructions at every given moment. And then we integrated technology throughout our school district. And so through the integration of technology, what we did was we had to look at what are the holes and gaps within our community. We had to work with our community. We started putting Wi-Fi, shooting Wi-Fi to parks. We put Wi-Fi on our school buses, so our students will have mobile study labs, and those bus drivers were from our community. So when they parked the buses within the neighborhoods, then there were free Wi-Fi within our neighborhoods, because we already paid for that Wi-Fi year long, actually through tax dollars. And then we had Wi-Fi in parking lots. And let me tell you, as an administrator, there's nothing more uncomfortable than driving in a parking lot and seeing a bunch of foggy windows. But let me tell you, that was the most blessed and happy time of my life, that I can drive in a parking lot and see a bunch of foggy windows in a high school parking lot and tap on that window, and I can see a parent on a computer and a child on a computer that we have issued, and they're doing work. And so we have to think of, how can we be so creative, and how can we make sure that we not only just focus as an entity of a school, but we look at it as a community of a whole, and we start to bring in different aspects of our community and work with our community so that we can serve our children. Remember, education is one of the only organizations that do not serve that look at their customer as number one. A lot of times in education, we are so adult heavy, and our customers are our children. And that's who we need to focus on. We need to make sure that we never put the needs of adults over the needs of put the needs of adults over the needs of kids. And that's one of the important things that we have to do. And so thank you for listening. There's more that we can break down, but I know that we had a short time, and obviously we had a disruption in technology earlier, but hopefully you got something out of it as far as making sure that we provide the best that we can for our students.
Okay, Dr. Hickman, thank you so very much. I love the way that you switched the mindset in terms of understanding that the children are really our clients, and that should be our primary focus. And I think we as administrators and district leaders and SUPs can often lose sight of that very important aspect. So we do appreciate you coming back on and And even through your technical difficulties, even though you are too, he's like, God,
who does that, right? Hey, and I was watching my internet bubble just shrink and shrink, and I can't yell and tell the kids to get off the internet because I was on live. So
right,
but it happens. It happens, right? It happens.
It happens. Doc, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Doc.
And we have to learn how to pivot every moment for our students. And that's what we're doing right now during this pandemic. And just like Carlos said, that we may not enter, there are some districts already that said they will not have school and that they will still have remote school. And so we have to think about that. We have to think about that as adults, even in our workplace. Twitter just announced that they are closing all their buildings and that they're going 100% remote. And so, we have to think about that in the industry aspect as well,
right.
That we have to be able to pivot. That is the new form of intelligence, is the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn, because technology has such a short shelf life. It has less than a year shelf life, that we have to be able to be nimble and flexible. And we have to teach our kids to be the same way and get away from the traditional education of memorization, regurgitation of facts. And that's our level of intelligence, where now it's going to be different, because that little black box in your hand has access to all the information. So it's not about information anymore. It's about how to apply that information, critically think through it.
Okay, Dr. Chester, we cannot hear you at all. So are you muted? Can you unmute yourself? We need for you to come in. We need to hear your voice.
And hey, look, technology.
I don't know what's going on. So, Doc,
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't know what I was gonna say, Dr. Phillip. I don't know, Tracy, if you remember my mentor, one of my mentor's brother, Dr. Richard Ramsey. Remember the locker and the IQ story? Dr. Phil told the IQ and the locker story. Do you remember Richard Ramsey at the conference? Yeah.
Yes.
I love that analogy. Yes, about expectations.
Oh yeah. We have to have high expectations for our students, no matter what.
Right. So, Doc, I'm gonna bring in the guests from this evening, Dr. Jackson and Dr. Carlos, so they can have their final thoughts, and then we have some of our previous guests that are backstage that we'll bring them in next for final thoughts, okay? So Dr. Jackson, MJ, and Coach Carlos, and I don't know where Mr. James is, but hopefully he'll be joining us. So thank you guys. Once again, thank you so much for your powerful insights. You guys are a tremendous asset to our community. And like Doc and I, we both have the fundamental beliefs that our kings are our bedrocks of our society, and probably that's just embedded in me to have you get displayed in such a light that we totally need you in our communities for us to galvanize and take back what is ours. See, we should be having that a cap on take back our communities as opposed to something, Anyway, that's right. But
that's right.
We do appreciate your presence. We appreciate your strength. We appreciate your knowledge. We appreciate your kingdomship. We just totally appreciate everything you have to contribute to the betterment of our educational platform and our most valuable asset, which are our children.
Our children.
Yeah.
So you guys
Carlos, you rocked it though.
No, so did you, Doc. So did you, man. The one thing I've learned about learners is that people learn on all kind of different wavelengths. Right. So there were some that really felt what I was saying, and there were others who felt what Dr. Jackson was saying, then felt what others who felt what you were saying, Dr. Hickman, and you need all of those tones in the room to have a melody, right?
Right. Oh, you're right. Yeah. Hey, and literally, we have to look at providing different types of instructions to all our students, and we have that with technology. Yeah. And so we can no longer, one of the things that hurts my heart is to see that we can't just use Zoom. Right. and we can't go back to lecturing kids for hours just because they're sitting in a different environment. Like,
come on, man.
That doesn't make sense, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
there's so many different options out there, you know, that we have to be able to use, and we have to look at personalizing. I mean, no one says, you know, no one says that a child has to have 45 minutes of instruction every time to learn how to read. What if I just needed 10? Right. I got to sit through the rest of it, you know? Right.
Doc, we've been programmed. We've been programmed otherwise, though. The system tells us you have to. If you don't learn this by this, something is wrong with you. Right. And it affects our children. If you have to stick to this particular curriculum, you can only teach ELA for 90 minutes a day. But what if these kids need 30 and these kids over here need an hour 45? Right. Educational leaders, do they have enough courage to say, you know what, I'm gonna buck the system to give my kids what they need? Yeah, and that's what I've always done.
Yeah, one of the things that I changed.
Results. They didn't touch me anymore. They didn't mess with me. But,
that's how I did it as a principal when we were looking at our reading. And I would go to classroom and say reading is 45 minutes. And so the teacher at 45 minutes, the teacher closed the book. And I got students still looking like, you know, what if I needed 47 minutes? Right. You know what I mean? Like, then I would have got it. Like, it would have stuck with me forever. But I mean, you know, the book is closed. And so I started saying, no, we need to differentiate. There's some way, you know, we need to figure out a tier system because and it may be that I need 47 in reading, but in math, shoot, I need 10. You know what I mean? So then you can't just put a 47-minute reader into a math class. You know, so it's all about.
When I took over the school that I took over, our reading scores were extremely low. So I switched us over to a project-based learning environment, and our reading scores shot through the roof. And what we did is we had students research articles that they wanted to learn about. We had them write about them, and every week we put them in front of the camera to create a news program, and then we broadcasted that news program every week. We had a rotation of students on the news during our news program that went out on our Facebook, went out to our parents, went out to the community, and our reading scores went through the roof. They just didn't want to sit and get. But they love project-based learning. They love the project-based learning.
Okay. So guys, final thoughts. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up because we got some other guests that are backstage that were on the previous night. So Dr. Hickman, Dr. Jackson, and Dr. Carlos, in that order. Just give us a sentence. Final thoughts.
Shoot first and then questions later.
Okay.
Like, literally, we have to make the effort to go.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Felicia. Thank you, Felicia. Thank you, Dr. Henry.
10 years ago, we're talking about the same issues 10 years later, and we haven't even moved. It's time to pull the trigger, and then we can aim later. We can discuss that later.
Sort it out later. Dr. MJ, final thoughts.
Pretty simple. Our choices affect our chances. And we have the team and the community that we've actually built here. We are the cavalry. We are the cavalry. No one else is coming for our kid. We're the cavalry.
You. Final thoughts, Coach Carlos.
I'll say the same thing that I've been preaching for the last couple of years, and that is the one thing that changes everything is engagement.
Okay, thank you. God bless you guys. Hang out backstage, and we'll talk a little bit later. So I'm gonna bring in our other guests from the previous nights. Okay, Doc, I'm gonna bring in Principal Kofele and Principal Presley. Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Chester, we cannot hear you. I don't know if you're, thank you.
We need principal. We have our three principals, yes.
Yes, we have our two principals here. So thank you so much, Principal Presley and Principal Kofele. We do appreciate you guys. This is our final day of our summit. We've had a lot of great tenants and a lot of great practitioners, and we just want to invite you to come back and just share some final thoughts, some final summaries. And Principal Presley, thank you so much for grace grading. I have been implementing that ever since you shared it out the other night. So, Principal Presley, let's go and start with you.
All right, awesome. Hello, everyone. Am I good on volume?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I changed devices tonight. I noticed on the last broadcast I got sped up or something going on with the other device. But anyway, I wanted to shout out Dr. Chester and Assistant Principal Oliver for the 3 nights of this powerful summit. These 3 nights have been absolutely incredible. You would have thought that the speakers that spoke into our lives had actually sat down and talked with each other. We're in different parts of this country. We have not spoken. We have not spoken with each other
since last year.
I've gone back and I've looked at each night, and I'll do the same with tonight. And you would have thought that we spoke to each other. It was just so complimentary, and there was such a flow to it. And the thing that I'm going to end with is, from all of the speakers that we heard, you could sense the character and the integrity of their presentation, that they've lived out something. These speakers were speaking from a place of, I have a platform, and I have a path that I have figured out how to help our students to excel. And I just want to share it with somebody to help these students to excel. So kudos to Dr. Chester. I mean, Dr. Chester's in an automobile, man. I mean, what do you do with a CEO like that? And only a few people will notice that and expound upon that. But I noticed that she was in an automobile, and guess what? It was light outside when this broadcast started, and she's still sitting somewhere in the city. You know? Come on, man. That's character and integrity and commitment. And,
right.
And if you have not joined BER, not just the Facebook page, if you have not joined, what is wrong with you? Man, you need to join. You need to put that little feed. This is awesome. So I'm going to end right there. I'm just excited. I spent 9 hours in grade books today checking that grace and compassion. And, you know, we got to have character and integrity as leaders to lead these students, because, you know, students, they can sense phoniness the first second they're in your face. So thank goodness for all these leaders who have shown character and integrity. And I'm excited about connecting with those that I've listened to this week in a more powerful way in the days and the weeks and months to come. Thank you so much. Dr. Chester, you better not still be in that car.
Yes, she is.
That's a leader. But I'm done, and I thank you all for this opportunity. I really do.
Thank you. And we do have things coming up, Principal Presley, that you're definitely a part of. And so we'll be sharing in the upcoming months.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right, Principal Kofele, the Godfather.
Yeah, good to be back on. You know, is my audio okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, good to be back on. And I just wanted to come back on for 2 quick things. Number one, I want to salute the 2 of you for putting this together. I want to echo Principal Presley and salute the 2 of you for a job well done. 3 days of some real powerhouse educators bringing their unique messages to Black Educators Rock Closing of School Summit. And also, you know, I've been with the conferences since day one, since it got started. So I want to say to the folks out there, as Principal Presley just said, if you haven't joined, what are you waiting for? You know, this was created for you. We're doing a lot of big things. Want you to get involved. So if you haven't joined, this is not about that Facebook group now. This is about the organization. This is about the conference. So come on and join. Just go on the site and join and be a part of this movement that we're creating. Now, the last thing When I was on Tuesday night, I did zero promotion of my work. And I noticed my colleagues were promoting their work. So I need to promote some work here right quick. So number one, I'm an author of 11 books. This is my most recent, The Assistant Principal 50, Critical Questions for Meaningful Leadership and Professional Growth. It's a number one bestseller on Amazon. It sold out the first printing before it was even printed. So get your hands on this. They're printing about 10,000 copies right now. So get your hands on this. It'll be available May 25th. So in a few days, The Assistant Principal 50. I'm not going to promote the rest of my books. Just go to principalcafele.com to see what else I have out there. Principalcafele.com. And then last thing, I do a free of charge virtual academy for assistant principals, aspiring assistant principals, every Saturday morning on Facebook Live and Twitter Live at 11 o'clock Eastern time. All you have to do is refresh your computer at 11 o'clock Eastern, and my face will be on your screen, ready to rip in terms of just information on how to be an extraordinary assistant principal. So this is for the assistant principal, the aspiring assistant principal, the principal who needs to hear this, the assistant superintendent, and the superintendent. We started this as 30 minutes, but I found out very quickly that I cannot do this in 30 minutes. So it's about an hour every Saturday, 45 minutes to an hour. Just log on and get some of this free game to help you to become the best assistant principal that you can possibly be. That's my promo. Do well with what you're doing. Join this organization, and we'll see you at the virtual conference. We want you all there in July. We'll see you at the virtual conference in July.
All right, Principal Kafele, you missed one thing. You missed that I am a product.
Yeah.
I should be your poster girl.
Yeah. Tracy watched the videos and read the books and doing big things. And that's what it's about. All of us as speakers here, we came on here and did, we're all paid well to do what we presented for the past 3 days. I won't even give indication what well means, but we're all paid well to do what we did. But we doing it here. We're not asking for a dime. We just want you to get the information and then join the organization and be a part of this movement.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Principal Kafele. So I just want to share one infomercial here regarding local chapters. As I said before, Dr. Chester and I, we are in the process of restructuring things. You will be hearing from me and Dr. Chester very, very soon. Once we finish all that information, we'll be pushing that out to you. Also, remember the virtual rock conference is coming up July the 30th through August the 2nd, through August the 2nd. And so we're in the process of designing that and getting all the information out. So you'll be having that as well. And I just want to tell you guys, thank you so much to all of our practitioners. Thank you so much to all our viewers and listeners for spending time with us for these 3 powerful days of wonderful information and changing education within our community. So I'm gonna digress and allow for Dr. Chester to close us out. Take care, everybody, and God bless. Dr. Chester.
Tracy has said it all. The last thing I just want to say, just always remember that you guys rock. That's it.
Okay. Good evening. God bless, and we'll see you in July. Bye.
See you in July.